So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Galaxy S26 Ultra versus the iPhone 16 Pro Max speed test. Let's see how this yesteryear iPhone compares to the S26 Ultra. If you're thinking about trading it in, we're going to go ahead and begin with a boot up test here in 3, 2, go, and see which one can get there first. Now, I do have a little bit of a hair on my 16 Pro Max. Let me swipe that thing away. And we're going to stick with the black background for today. People seem to be enjoying it. We do have an Apple A18 Pro chipset on the right, 6-core GPU, and we do have 8 gigs of RAM on the right, but we're looking at 12 gigs of RAM on the Galaxy S26 Ultra paired with a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy. This chipset right here has been a boss, and it boots up faster than the iPhone 16 Pro Max. Keep in mind, though, that the 16 Pro Max has that chip that keeps being talked about with the MacBook Neo, the Apple A18 Pro. So that thing's a little bit of a beast, but we'll see if the S26 Ultra can best it or not. So far, let me know which phone you're digging more down below in the comment section. So when it comes to unlocking these phones, both of them do use a face unlock, but the secure method for the Samsung, of course, is going to be the in-display fingerprint, but you see you can bypass it with the camera. Now, some people have talked about, well, it's still a secure method. You can't really fool it easily anymore with the camera. I still prefer in-display fingerprint. That's the actual biometric unlocking. But if you take a look here, the S26 Ultra is just faster to get into, period. It's speedier. You can actually hold it there without even looking. I mean, it's like in a good location. The fingerprint area where you press is pretty big, so it doesn't really lead to a lot of mispresses. However, I do think the one that's implemented on the side of the phones, like on the foldables, is probably more accurate. But technically, from speed perspective, the S26 Ultra feels like you're flying into the phone faster. It also feels that way within the general software here with speed. I mean, look at this thing fly through this. You can go ahead and swipe down over there, and when you're swiping through, the general operating system of the One UI 8.5 combined with Android 16, Samsung has got this thing flying. So it's fast. Let's just put it that way. Now, iOS seems to run along at a little bit more of a polished, smooth, buttery feel. It's nice. It really is. But it feels like more intentional, like you're intentionally going slow and you're intentionally looking at that animation. It kind of feels like that. So generally, you know, it doesn't feel as fast, but you can still fly along. The actual CPU speed and the launching of applications and everything is incredibly quick. But the general software, when you're navigating through, doesn't seem to fly along quite as fast as Samsung, but it's definitely still quick. So let's go ahead and get on to the app test now. Okay, guys, so let's go ahead and begin this test with Calendar, and you can see not a big disparity there. That was pretty tough to see, very close. Let's go ahead and swipe up out of there. We're going to go into Clock and faster on the Ultra. Now let's go over here and we'll go through here. I also feel like the Ultra's One UI, some of the elements look a little more modern. While Apple did add the nice liquid glass effects, the actual apps look kind of the same, whereas Samsung's apps are kind of having little different themes inside of them. So it looks a little more modern to me on the Samsung, but iOS's liquid glass also makes that feel pretty modern. Now, when in applications, both of them seem to load things at about the same clip. So you've seen right there, the scrolling was a little slower, is a little bit slower there on the iPhone. And sometimes a lot of people talk about how they don't always feel like they're in a ProMotion 120 hertz as regularly as the Samsung. And I have to say, I've experienced that. Let's go into Gemini. Or we hit Bixby or something. Let me go ahead and close out Bixby and close out Gemini. I'm going to actually open Gemini to make sure that's cached on both now. And let me go ahead and hit Gemini once again. And you'll see it still popped open first there for the iPhone. We'll go into Copilot and you'll see faster on the Galaxy. We'll go into Groupon and faster. Okay. We're getting a guest pop-up. So we'll do that one more time. Let's go ahead and do Groupon. And you can see there now quicker for the Galaxy. So that was just a pop-up slowing it down. We'll go into Instagram. You'll see faster on the Galaxy. Let me go ahead and hit right here. We'll go ahead and hit here. Look at the S26 Ultra. Zooming is pretty smooth. And let's get up out of there. And we'll go into X. Quicker on the Ultra. And let's go ahead and hit over here. We'll hit profile on both. We'll scroll through and everything's smooth. Let's go into Apple News versus Samsung News, and you'll see not a huge difference. We'll head up out of there and we'll go into Dead Trigger 2. We'll see what happens here. Samsung launches first. So looking good so far. I think if you're going to trade in your iPhone 16 Pro Max, you're going to be pretty happy with the change in performance. It does seem to be launching things quicker. It also tends to have better cooling than the iPhone. So it has better thermals as well. So it's probably a decent trade. If you want to try out Samsung, you will get better performance and better thermals. So it's not like before where you were losing things if you went from an iPhone to an Android device. Nowadays, these Samsung phones are faster and playing at the same level, if not better. So then if you do a trade, you're not going to probably be too disappointed unless you just miss iOS. Let's go into RTS, or Erase the Sun. And you could see that launching first there on neither. Both of them doing very good in these casual games, eating those up for breakfast. Let's go into Free Fire on both phones. And you'll see Free Fire is pulling ahead there on the Galaxy. And you'll see Galaxy going to take the victory on this one. No, the iPhone takes the victory. So you can see, even though sometimes the loads do look like they're going first to the Galaxy, that come out was pretty laggy though on the 16 Pro Max. What was that, Apple? And you'll see Galaxy pulling ahead here on Destiny, but we cannot say it's going to take it yet because iPhone is known to sneak up on you and take that W. So we'll see what happens here. Yep, this is going to go to the Samsung Galaxy on this one. Let's hit tap to play. And now tap to play here. And Destiny Rising now pulling ahead on the tap over here versus the Samsung. Now when, I might have tapped the wrong area. Now when you're actually in the game, the graphics to me look really good on both. For some reason, they look slightly nicer on the iPhone. Maybe this game is better optimized. I don't know. They look slightly nicer on the iPhone. Let's go into Asphalt, but that could depend on the game. Some games could look better on Android devices. Some games could look better on the iPhone. It's really up to you to decide which games you're playing, and make sure you check before you buy which app is developed better for which platform, if those are important apps to you. Let's go into Geekbench 6, faster on the iPhone. Speedtest.net, faster on the iPhone. We'll go into InShot, faster on the Samsung. And so overall, it looked like the Samsung did load more first. iPhone had a couple more choppy looking app closes and also didn't load quite as many, but overall I would say the Samsung probably took this app test. Let's go ahead and take a look at the RAM now between both of them. All right, so let's go back through the applications. You can see there's InShot, there is Speed Test, and we'll go into 3D Mark. We'll go into Asphalt. Got to swipe from the side on that one. We'll go into the Destiny Rising, and doesn't look like this one's allowing bottom gestures. We'll go into RTS, once again from the side. We'll go into Subway Surfers, and that's not a slowdown. That's just because I need to launch it from the side. You can see everything is well open. So I think this is Gemini just reloading its bar for another chat response. But you'll see right here, the entire phone, man, just flying through all of this, and it holds these things very well. So if you are multitasking and splitting between different applications, the Samsung is going to have no problem holding literally everything. I mean, you could have an app pair open like right there, and then you could have another pop view window open, and it still doesn't lag up. You can also go right here, split another screen with another application, and then you could have two different app pairs open. I mean, this thing's a boss. It can handle all of this. Let's do another one. We'll split again. We'll go over here to Copilot, and there's 3 different app pairs running simultaneously on this phone. So this thing is a RAM management beast here with even with 12 gigs of RAM, highly optimized software, and really good for multitasking. Let's go ahead and take a look at the iPhone now, see if it holds those things open in the background. So let's go ahead and tap InShot. We'll go to Speedtest.net, Geekbench, 3D Mark, Asphalt. We'll go into Destiny Rising, Free Fire. And so the 8 gigs of RAM showing that it's enough still for iOS type usage. However, the 8 gig of RAM is definitely not as good as the 12 gig you'll find on the 17 Pro Max. It seems that for daily use, you might get a couple reloads occasionally, but it's going to be pretty rare. So 16 Pro Max still very good, but there's no real way to take advantage of the larger screen. So if you were thinking about upgrading, you're not going to get better performance with RAM management on the left. You're also going to get more usability. So this one actually reloaded Groupon, and the Samsung was a little bit more powerful in this area as well. So I'm going to give that one to the Samsung. So usually the Samsung doesn't finish first in these Geekbench tests in my previous tests, but today it does, and it has a ridiculous 10,610 on multi-core. But take a close look at that single core. Here's where the 16 Pro Max is still a solid offering, or at least a solid pickup. 3363. So it's only a couple hundred points behind on single core, which means day to day, if you upgrade here, you're only going to notice the jump on a S26 Ultra when multitasking, gaming, GPU intensive, or just things that push that phone a little bit more. So if you find yourself getting a little bit heavier with your smartphone use, it's a good upgrade. But for just daily tasks, probably won't matter too much in the speed department. But you will be getting a lot of camera upgrades as you're going to go to significantly longer zoom, included LUTs on board. So there are camera upgrades to be had. Let's go ahead and see if that GPU difference or that Wildlife Extreme is going to give us a significantly different graphic performance, because I think the S26 Ultra is going to blow away this iPhone in this department. And that's not trying to come off biased towards Samsung. It's just what I've been seeing with the results on previous speed tests. I'm coming from data. I'll be back when they're done to see how far they had one of these are over each other. I'll be back shortly. All right, guys, and here is the final Wildlife Extreme scores. And as I predicted, the Galaxy absolutely crushing the 16 Pro Max with over 1,000+ points more on an overall score and an average of 8 frames per second difference. That's the difference between a much smoother game when you're playing a heavier game and a game that is still doing well on the iPhone 16 Pro Max, but can potentially drop a frame here and there. You also see that the sustainment of that performance was a bit better on the Samsung, with scoring better than 94% of devices on the market. This one, 83%. So a couple years, the 16 Pro Max is starting to drop a little, but it's still up there. So think of it, it was at the top. It's dropped a little. It's still up there, but it's not at the top no more. This one is at the very top, which makes sense, but it's significantly better on the Galaxy. Also, I've been running a bunch of apps here, and I've actually seen higher scores than this in my previous results, so it's actually potential to do better than that even. Let's go ahead and take a look at a speed test net. We want to see how the Wi-Fi performance is on both of these, and I want to make sure they are connected to the same network, or the same server, excuse me. You'll see right there that we are pulling in close to 1,000, doing very well. And I'm just taking the iPhone out of frame because I want to make sure it has the same server before running the test on here. And let me go ahead and do that. And so 1,171. Samsung just really has very fast network performance, especially on that Galaxy S line phones. I love it. You actually can tell when you're out and about how reliable the performance is on the Galaxy. Not saying the iPhone's not, but I just find it to be super strong on the move. Also, the Wi-Fi performance, when connected to a Wi-Fi 7 router like we're on now, does well on both. You'll see right here that the iPhone is pulling in near the same, but loses there on the overall download, pulling in around the same uploads. But them download speeds are on another level for these Galaxy Ultra phones. So if you need some of the most reliable Wi-Fi scores, Wi-Fi performance, mobile performance, it's probably the Galaxy. You'll see right there, we got a high score. That's a high score on this device, but that's still a higher score. So there's not much stock I'm going to put into that. Now, last thing I want to do before we get up out of here is my camera test. So we'll use this Lumix lens right here for the sample item, and we'll pull these phones up here. And let's go ahead and snap those photos. Oh, we're on different cameras, so let me go ahead and close those out. We'll do that one more time. And let's go ahead and do that again in 3, 2, go. Faster on the iPhone, shutter speed still delayed a little bit on the Samsung. However, they have some processing now with AI that allows you to kind of not really see any motion blur on your photos quite as much. So they're doing better, but still that shutter lag is apparent. I know you can change it in settings, but it's still, to me, a little bit slower than the iPhone. So that's just something I like about iPhone. They snap photos a little bit faster in my experience. So wrapping it up here, I'm gonna have to give this W to the Galaxy S26 Ultra, not because it was apparently obvious at the beginning of the video, but because in actual testing here, I see that the iPhone's multi-core on a 16 Pro Max is starting to fall a bit behind the latest and greatest. That doesn't mean it's not still a great phone. It is. It'll last you several years to come. But if you play a lot of games, specifically on your phone, like Destiny Rising, these graphically demanding games, you play them for extended sessions, or you're doing heavy multitasking with split view windows and all kinds of things, plugging this into a monitor display port, you'll probably like your upgrade to this device. Also, if you want to play around with an S Pen for the first time ever, you want more zoom, this is a solid trade-in. However, keep in mind you are going from titanium build to aluminum build. You might not like that as much. You have to take a look at the display, see if you're okay with the pixel arrangement with this new privacy display, if you like it or not. But generally, speed test wise, Samsung wins this battle right here. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section of this video. If you found it helpful, entertaining, informing, click the like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you on the next episode. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.